Greetings, aspirants. Welcome to Narayana IAS Daily News Analysis. My name is Shivnath Mamilla. I have picked up few important articles from the Hindu and Indian Express for analysis. These are the list of articles I have picked up for daily news analysis. The first one is Bihar House passes bills rising ceiling on caste quota to 65 percentage. It is regarding the reservations, positive discrimination. The second important article is Woman in Red from The Hindu, page number 8. This is regarding the menstrual hygiene policy for women. And the third important article is Chip of the Block. This is regarding semiconductor industry in India and PLI scheme. Hindu, page number 8. The next article is Online Gambling Ban won't apply to poker and rummy. So in the light of betting, gambling, game of chance, game of skill, we have picked up this article, Hindu, page number 1. Allied in the sky, it is regarding Euclid mission of European Space Agency from Indian Express, page number 12. And Gwalior Gharana, it is one of the article we have picked up from Indian Express, page number 20, in the background of art and culture for analysis. Let's get into the analysis of the first article. The first article for analysis is Bihar House passes bill rising ceiling on caste quota to 65%. So the UPSC relevance, you can see affirmative actions, positive discrimination, OBC, SC, ST, and it is specifically useful for Indian society and social justice. So if you try to see the context of this particular article, Bihar government increased the quota of backward classes and extremely backward classes, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in reserving government jobs and seats in educational institutions. One must remember that whenever we speak about reservations, we are talking about reservations or positive discrimination in three areas. One, educational. The second one is in opportunities, which means jobs. And the third one is in representation. So here we are talking about reservations in education and opportunities. It is increased and now the quota is fixed at 65%, and if you add 10% additional quota EWS, it is going to become 75%. So this is the background. So the bill is still pending and the government has to give his assent on the bill. So another important fact which we need to pick up from here is 3% reservation which was given to BC women was removed in this particular bill. So why reservation? First of all, why positive discrimination? We have to see this is because of the historical injustice done to these castes or to these communities, because of which we are giving them positive discrimination. And socio-economic inequalities. So especially if you see the Bihar caste census data which was released recently, it constitute 63% of the population. OBCs constitute 63% of the population. Based on this particular report, they have given this particular reservation bill. Empowerment of weaker sections and vulnerable sections is the agenda of positive discrimination and reservation. So there is a broad political consensus on this particular issue, even while passing this particular bill in House. Reservation in education, it will build the capacity of, this is the first important reservation or positive discrimination required to be done by the state to those communities, to those deprived or discriminated communities. Reservation will build the capacity of these people and lessens the demand for positive discrimination or support later. If you try to see the evolution of reservation policy in India, we have to go through the timeline 1950, 1982, 1992, 2006 and 2020. If you try to see here, we got First Amendment Act in 1951, the Mandal Commission which gave 27% to OBCs, and 73rd and 74th Amendment Act, which gave reservation for SC, ST, and also 1/3 to women, and 2006 Central Educational Institution Act, which brought reservations for OBC in central educational institutions, and Women Reservation Bill, which was in news in recent times also. 2020 EWS quota, which is 103rd Amendment Act. If we try to see the reservations broadly, the reservations were given based on social backwardness, educational backwardness, and with 103rd Amendment Act, economical backwardness. This is the basis for reservations. So if you try to see the analysis, the types of reservations, we have horizontal and vertical reservations. We'll try to understand what are horizontal and vertical reservations. The horizontal reservation is something, it's a type of reservation that is applied across all categories of a particular group. The example is 33% reservation for women in all government job, which will ensure women are represented fairly, and it will also help in breaking down the stereotypes. But the problem is it can lead to reverse discrimination, can lead to decrease in the quality of candidates. There will be a threat to meritocracy. Vertical, a type of reservation that is applied within the particular category of a group. 10% of reservation for STs in all the government jobs. This helps in marginalized sections getting representation in positions of power, especially in legislature. It will give level playing field for all the marginalized sections, but it can lead to tokenism and resentment from other groups. So in this background, if you try to see, the percentage of reservations before is 50%, limit was there, and now 75% we are looking at. Constitutional basis for that is 15 Article 15 Class 4, 16 Class 4, whereas Article 15 Class 4, 16 Class 4, and we also have 103rd Amendment Act, which was changed now. So these are to address the historical injustices and promote social inclusion. And the concerns here are merit versus reservation, because the legal challenges may arise. The constitutional limit is 50%. The legal challenges may arise at present times. Balancing social justice with merit is going to be a very big challenge for the legislators. Economic criteria is not the basis before, but economic criteria is the basis before. As I said, social and educational reservations were there before, but after 103rd Amendment Act, even economical reservations were taken up. So if you take the public debate and opinion, there were historic debates, protests, and political and social discourse which led to this. And there are ongoing discussions in this particular arena of economical reservations and inclusive development. Implementational challenges, if you see, the administrative and bureaucratical challenges were there, ensuring proper representation before, but the challenges broadened now because there are legal challenges also when we are trying to question the 50% ceiling set by the Supreme Court and the Constitution. So what are the drawbacks of the bill? If you try to see the drawbacks of the bill, elimination of 3% reservation for backward class women is the major drawback. And as I said, it is violating the ceiling which was set by Indira Savnaik case. Even if it's get nod, ninth schedule is subjected to the judicial review, and it is going to be based on the judicial review. The question of social justice, if you take up, many among the unreserved feel left out, and it is violation of Article 15, right to equality. There will be an impact on meritocracy while we expand reservation criteria. There is a need for subcategorization so that inequalities in availing opportunities are faded out. So the economical and administrative challenges, if you have to see specifically in Bihar's case, while passing this bill, even Chief Minister quoted this, to implement this we need 2.5 lakh crores financial resources, for which he is suggesting he should be given special category status for Bihar. So this is the important article today we have taken up for analysis, and the next important article we are taking up for analysis is Women in Red. A menstrual hygiene policy should provide a range of services. So UPSC relevance, gender equality, women health, and UPSC syllabus, prelims public policy, and GS2 social justice is the context. So the present context of the news is that Supreme Court directed the center to come up with a final and optimum menstrual hygiene policy and to set a national model for number of girl toilets or women toilets per female population. The center already drafted the policy. The rough draft is already available. Why we need a menstrual policy? Why it is so important? Menstruation is natural reality of women who constitute half of the population of the country. Depriving menstrual health to women will lead to health, education, and participation of women in society. These are the different challenges they face. When they are deprived of menstrual rights, they will have problems in education, they'll have problems in catching up the opportunities, they'll have problems in participating in the social institutions. So what is the status of menstrual hygiene at present? Advancement over the years, especially urbanization and other modernization trends brought menstrual hygiene products, but there were challenges also. But we'll try to see what are the facts behind it at present. The National Family Health Survey 5 says 73% of rural women and 90% of the urban women use hygiene method for menstrual protection. So this is the access we have. As per National Family Health Survey 5, the percentage of women, especially aged 15 to 24, who use these hygiene methods of protection during their menstrual cycle rose from 58 to 78%. This is a good trend which we need to observe. But the concerns we need to consider are the accessibility to these products, especially in semi-urban and rural areas, and affordability of these products, which is becoming difficult to rural and urban people also, and the social taboo, the negative impact of overlooking this natural biological phenomenon is the major concern one should remember. So if you try to see the status of menstrual hygiene, the findings where we are trying to link education with menstrual health. This is one of the important parameter one should observe. Women who have received more than 12 or equivalent to 12 years of education or schooling are more than twice as likely to use a hygiene method compared to those with no schooling. So education is the parameter which is increasing the usage of menstrual health products. NFHS 5 also found the link between menstruation and dropping out of the school. This is one of the important concern because of the stigma and patchy or no access to sanitation, there is dropping out from school. So remember, when women are getting dropped out from the school, they lose the opportunities at the work, and similarly they will lose the representation in the legislature. They will not be able to participate in all the social institutions like education or maybe media or maybe legislature, right? So it is very important in that arena. So if you try to see the stigma aspect of this particular menstrual health or menstrual hygiene or menstruation in urban setting and rural setting, I'm trying to bring that stigma aspect. Name is being avoided. In urban setting, they're okay to use the words like period and menstruation, but in rural setting, there are euphemisms or vague terms to avoid or present direct mention of menstruation. So they continue to do the regular activities in the urban setting normally, but in rural setting there are restrictions, especially in participation of social activities. Menstrual blood as impure. Modern perspectives consider it as a natural, but traditional consideration that it is impure, right? And limited access to resources, as I said just before, better access to sanitary products and disposal is there in the urban setting, but limited availability and affordability is a concern in the rural area. If you try to see, there is increased awareness and challenges to the myths, especially in the urban setting. If you try to say the rural areas, there are persistent beliefs considering women as unclean or women are second class citizens. So absence of open discussions, especially in rural areas, there is absence of open discussions. There are open discussions. There is growing debate, especially when we speak about bad men. There were movies, there are activities of civil society, there is activism in this particular area, but in rural areas there is a reluctance. Impact of education is very less because in urban setting there is access. There is higher impact in rural areas where students are dropping out. So better healthcare facilities are also available in urban areas. Limited access to healthcare products, especially in rural areas, leading to unaddressed health issues. Psychological consequences, if you try to see, reduced psychological impact due to awareness in urban setting can be seen, but there are higher sociological consequences in rural setting, especially shame. So what government is doing in this particular arena to counter the sociological trends? They drafted a National Menstrual Hygiene Policy 2023. It is just a draft as of now, as per the instructions of the Supreme Court. They released guidelines for menstrual hygiene in 2015 with a clear-cut action plans. There is a scheme for promotion of menstrual hygiene which was launched in 2011 to increase not only awareness but also access to high quality napkins and also safe disposal. Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janaushadhi Pariyojana, when we're talking about disposal, they have subsidized OXO biodegradable pads under Jan Aushadhi Suvidha Kendras. They are providing these under Jan Aushadhi Suvidha Kendras. So there is another program, School Health and Wellness Program by Ministry of Health and Family Welfareness, which includes a component of awareness generation on menstrual health through weekly interactive classroom sessions. So there are many state government measures in this particular arena. One special one is by Andhra Pradesh government, where they are distributing free sanitary napkins to schoolgirls between age of 7 to 12 under Swecha program. If you try to see the need of the hour, the policy is only half revolution. The implementation is another half. It is very important that we bring affordability and accessibility of these products to all the vulnerable sections and disadvantaged sections. Government should bridge the gap between a rural and urban setting, which I just spoke about. So ensuring access to vulnerable and disadvantaged sections such as differently abled persons, deserted and migrant people is also important. Remember, we are not calling them physically challenged people. We are not calling them disabled people also. We are calling them differently abled people. That is the kind of sensitivity we are growing into. And awareness to remove the taboo behind this natural biological phenomenon and the process of menstruation, we need to bring awareness to all the levels of the society. Need to bring environmental considerations such as use of biodegradable pads and also eco-sensitive hygiene products. So it is important for us to understand we have to align ourselves with sustainable development goals, especially SDG 3, 4, 5 and 6, which are talking about good health and well-being, quality of education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation. Holistically, comprehensively, adoption of life cycle approach by recognizing the unique needs of individuals from menarche to menopause has to be done by the policy. So this is about the article. We will pick up another important article. The next important article we are taking up for analysis is chip of the block. So this article is regarding semiconductors and relevant production linked incentives. And for preliminary examination, this is relevant for general science, and in mains examination GS2, and it is quite relevant in science and technology. So if you try to see the context, the PLI scheme for semiconductors attracts investments, but concerns are rising regarding this because of underutilization of funds and the lack of clarity on the intended outcomes. So this particular PLI scheme for semiconductor industry, the funds are underutilized. In this context, we'll try to see what are semiconductors. Semiconductors are materials that have electrical conductivity between a conductor and an insulator. The examples and the types of semiconductors we have are silicon, germanium, gallium, arsenide. And if you try to see the applications in electronics at the chip level, so it is used to make transistors, diodes, and integrated circuits. Normally, transistors are used to amplify and switch electronic signals. Diodes used to allow current to flow in one direction, and ICs are complex circuits which normally contain millions and billions of transistors and other important components. So for solar cells, it is relevant where it is relevant for renewable energy, where it will convert sunlight into electricity. It is relevant in LEDs, lasers. Production linked incentives. Production linked incentives is an initiative launched in 2020 to provide financial incentives to domestic and foreign companies so that they manufacture products. Objective is to scale up domestic industry capacity and to import substitution. The coverage of this particular scheme PLI is for 14 sectors, including mobile manufacturing, medical devices, automobiles, auto components, pharmaceuticals, drugs, steel, telecom, networking products, electronic products, white goods like ACs and LEDs, food products, textile products, solar, advanced chemistry cells, drones, and drone components. So this is the coverage of this particular scheme. So the incentives or the financial awards is based on the percentage of revenue up to 5 years. So it incentivizes the incremental sales. So the other criteria which this particular scheme is focusing is on the sale, performance, and local value addition for a period of 5 years. This is very much relevant for your preliminary examination point of view. What is the significance of semiconductor industry? Why need to focus more on this particular industry? It contributes to the economic growth ultimately, the technological advancement, especially I'll take up one more slide about industry 4.0, where it is at the core we need to develop our semiconductor industry. The strategic importance where now the national security and defense capabilities are also quite dependent on this particular industry. Digital transformation, IoT, AI, and smart devices to increase our global competitiveness in a global supply chain. For our innovation and research, this is one of the key parameter which will talk about our innovation and our research. Electronics research in Make in India scheme and initiative. It will create a lot of jobs and employment to Indian youth, and consumer electronics and automotive growth. It is vital for smart devices and for electric vehicles driving progress in this particular sections. So if you have to see what is industry 4.0, the applications of industry 4.4, as I said, the first industrial revolution, when you saw industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0, we have embarked on journey to 4.0, where we have different technologies. For these technologies, the core is the semiconductor industry. The foundational technology is semiconductor industry. So it will bring seamless connectivity through embedded systems, IoT, and wireless communications. When you talk about automation and smart manufacturing, these are essential in sensors, actuators, control systems, which will bring automation and efficiency in manufacturing and assembly lines. So artificial intelligence and machine learning, when you talk about, these are crucial for this particular intelligent decision making industry for processing power, which is required by artificial intelligence, machine learning languages. Data processing and edge computing. For this high speed data processing and storage, we are relying on semiconductor industry. Apart from that, cyber physical systems, where we are trying to control the physical systems using the network for monitoring, for control, and for optimization of the industrial process, we need this industry. And energy efficiency and sustainability in the era of climate change, in the era of global warming, where we are trying to adopt renewable energy systems, this is quite relevant. So for industry 4.0, it is like a backbone. So if you try to compare the semiconductor industry of India with a developed country like USA and Taiwan, which is doing good in this particular arena, you see that we are trying to increase our presence, especially in design and R&D. But USA, you know already it's a dominant market, and Taiwan is a major player, especially in manufacturing. So in the companies, if you see Infosys, Wipro, Tata, XLI, likewise, if you try to see USA companies, Intel, Nvidia, Qualcomm, AMD are the examples. And Taiwan examples, MediaTek, UMC, TSM, these are the different examples of companies from the semiconductor industry. The focus is on design, software, and innovation in India, whereas if you see in USA, the focus is more on cutting edge research and development. The strong emphasis in technology and innovation is in Taiwan. So investment and funding scenario, if you see, increasing investment, but not at the levels where USA is investing. Very high level of investments are being done in this particular industry. Even the venture funding is happening. So significant investments are being done in R&D in Taiwan. So it is only to develop a perspective in comparison mode. So government initiatives like PLA is there to help this particular industry, but there is a growing concern where the funds are underutilized now. Historically, very supportive for R&D, the government is giving strong support in both Taiwan and United States of America. This is the comparison one should understand. So, what should be the way forward? Way forward, we need to take up strategic actions by having a strong vision, mission, and a good plan and strategy so that we can utilize the funds which were allocated so that it will further foster the growth and strengthen India's position in global electronic landscape. The next important article we are taking up for analysis is Madras High Court set aside TN ban on online rummy and poker, says they are games of skills. So we're talking about gambling, we're talking about betting. So this is one of the important arena. Until now, these are the gray areas which are now becoming more visible and important for us in taxation phenomenon also. So it is relevant in our laws and regulating online gambling in India. Game of skill and game of chance is the keywords. UPSC syllabus for mains, it is relevant in a GS paper 2 government interventions. So if you try to take the context, Tamil Nadu government banned online rummy and poker in the state through Tamil Nadu Prohibition of Online Gambling and Regulation of Online Games Act 2022. Now the Madras High Court sets aside that particular ban on online rummy and poker games, citing that they are games of skill. So now what is the difference between gambling and betting? Gambling, it generally refers to playing of games of chance for money or other stakes, often involving risk and uncertainty. Whereas betting, it involves placing money on outcome of an event with the primary intent of winning additional money or material goods. So these are the basic definitions. And if you try to see the regulation on online gaming in India, betting and online gaming comes under state list under Schedule 7 of Constitution, entry number 34. MeitY, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, released draft rules for online gaming in 2021. So, required regulations have been included in the IT Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code Rules 2021. This is the legal framework we have for online gambling. So, if you see the draft rules, registration and approval, online games must register with a self-regulatory body ensuring legal operations in India. Enhanced due diligence. If you try to say online gaming firms must conduct additional due diligence, including KYC, so that there is transparency in monetary transactions and there is a fair winning distribution. The question is more on fair winning distribution. Certification of fair play. This is another important place where we need to focus. Certification of fair play. There are accusations that the gaming companies are using bots. Gaming companies must secure a random number of generation certificates for statistically random outcomes in random games. A no board certificate from a reputable certifying body is mandatory. So, compliance and oversight. A nodal and grievance officer for government, liaison and assistance to law enforcement. So, there should be a bridge between these companies and government through public policy interventions. So, if you try to compare the game of skill with the game of chance, so if you try to see the definition, it is primarily based on luck. When you talk about game of chance, it is primarily based on luck. When you're talking about game of skill, it completely based on your knowledge, your expertise, and hence your skill. The dominant factor in game of chance is luck or randomness, whereas in game of skill, it is the strategy and decision making of the particular person. So, if you try to see the legal classification, often subject to stricter gambling regulations, the game of chance. So, game of skill can be exempted from gambling restrictions as it is game of knowledge, game of expertise. So if you try to see betting and wagering, often associated with betting and wagering, the game of chance, skill games may have less emphasis on betting. So the outcome and the predictability, it is quite unpredictable in game of chance. If you try to see game of skill, skilled players can predict the outcomes based on the knowledge they have or learned knowledge they have. So examples of this game of chance are slot missions, which you see in normally in Hollywood movies, in casinos, lottery or roulette. When you talk about game of skill, we are talking about chess, we are talking about poker, we are talking about fantasy sports based on players' knowledge. So now taxation in online gaming is one of the important parameter we need to keep in mind. Under Income Tax Act, game winnings, including actual winnings, bonuses, referral incentives, or inducement provided by online gaming platforms are treated as income under IT Act. Budget 2023, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman brought a circular outlining TDS rule for online gaming winnings. According to the circular, these companies required to deduct 30% of the tax winnings, which is exceeding rupees 100 for distribution as TDS. The tax calculation is based on the net winnings, defined as the difference between the amount withdrawn and the amount deposited in that particular user account. Net winnings TDS has to be calculated. So if you try to see Committee on Online Gaming, Lodha Committee in 2015 recommended legalization of betting with strong safeguards in India, except for those covered by BCCI and IPL regulations. It also recommended match spot fixing can be made a criminal offense. So this is in the spot fixing case, they have suggested that. In that light, they have suggested legalization of betting. The government established a committee to regulate online gaming and designate a particular ministry to oversight in 2022. The committee's mandate is to study global best practices and bring uniform regulatory mechanism which will ensure ease of doing business and level playing field, also considering safeguarding the gamers from harms like addiction. So in this holistic perspective, they have constituted a committee and we have to wait for the output and report of this particular committee. The next article we are taking up for analysis, especially in prelims perspective, is a light in the sky. Images shot by ESA Euclid mission to show the potential of darkness illuminated. So, if you try to see the relevance, Euclid mission, dark matter, dark energy, global cluster, nebula, these terminologies, these missions are very important for preliminary perspective in general science. So if you see the context of the article, European Space Agency's Euclid mission released its 5 scientific images. What is this Euclid mission? This mission is Euclid is a telescope designed to explore the composition and evolution of the dark universe. So we are trying to understand the architecture of the universe here. It aims to create a comprehensive map of large scale structure of the universe. As I said, we are trying to create a comprehensive map of these particular large scale structures. It observes billions of galaxies up to 10 billion light years away, covering one third of the sky. Okay. The mission's focus is understanding the expansion of the universe, the formation of the cosmic structures, and gaining insights into the roles of gravity, dark matter, and dark energy also. So, to gain more information about these strategic terminologies, we have launched this particular mission. So if you try to see the definitions of normal matter, and dark energy, which were used in previous slide, you see normal matter consists of atoms that makes up stars, planets, or human beings are otherwise visible. It is less than 5% of the universe. So what you are seeing now is less than 5% of the universe. Whereas if you take dark matter, it is a form of matter that doesn't emit, absorb, or reflect light, making it difficult to see or undetectable even by electromagnetic radiation. So this dark matter is about 27 percentage of the universe. If you take dark energy, it is a hypothetical form of energy. So it is thought to be permeating of all the space and believed it is the reason for acceleration of expansion of the universe. So unlike gravity, dark energy act as a repulsive force, causing galaxies to move away from each other. Whereas if you see Newton's gravity or Einstein's theory of relativity, you're talking about force of attraction. Whereas when you talk about dark energy, it is a repulsive force. So it is roughly 68% of the universe. So if you go back to the previous slide, I was telling this particular Euclid mission is to learn or gain insights into these galaxies, which are at least 10 billion light years away, covering one third of the sky, which will give us a great amount of knowledge about the architecture of the universe. So in this, we have couple of definitions which we need to keep in mind, like spiral galaxy. What is spiral galaxy? Which is having a rotating disk with a spiral arms that curve out to the dense central region. Milky Way is a spiral galaxy. No, we are living in Milky Way. This is our house, right? So spiral galaxy is the one where it is having a dense central region and a rotating disk, right? So irregular dwarf galaxy is another type of galaxy. It is small, dim galaxy lacking a distinct and symmetric structures, right? It is having asymmetric structure. So to understand this structure, to understand this particular architecture, we have launched this particular Euclid mission. Globular cluster are stable, tightly bound clusters of tens of thousands of millions of stars, which are associated with all types of galaxies, right? So nebula is a giant cloud of dust and gas in space. So these are the important terminologies in the background of Euclid. So that is about that article. We are picking up another important article for a preliminary perspective. The UNESCO declares Gwalior as the city of music, a city which is having glorious past in art and culture dimension, in current affairs dimension. We are trying to see this. Gwalior Gharana, Hindustani classical music is the point which we need to learn from this. So the city of Gwalior, which is there in Madhya Pradesh, was added to UNESCO's Creative Cities Network (UCCN) on for its strong commitment to harnessing culture and creativity. So these are creative cities, especially for culture. So Gwalior Gharana is the oldest musical gharana of Hindustani, which flourished under Raja Man Singh Tomar in 15th century. So it is quite relevant for the Mughal dynasty also. We have a link which we will discover here. Man Singh's contribution to music, if you see, invention of Drupad is by Man Singh, which is very important classical genre. His horis and damas gained popularity in Hindustani classical music. So he made music accessible. How he made music accessible? He used Hindi in place of Sanskrit so that it is more accessible. He wrote Manakutuhala, a quest for learning, the first music treatise in Hindi. So he incorporated the Sufi saints' advices into the insights of his music. So it is having a diverse influence. And when you talk about Kayal singing, Gwalior's Krana played a crucial role in evolution of Kayal singing, incorporating elements of Qawwali of Sufi saints. Unity in diversity, it is one of the reflection of that scenario. Artists of Gwalior Gharana sounded different but maintained certain unity in style, incorporating Persian words and concepts of Bandishki Tumri, which means a structured style of Tumri or love song. So the style is very relevant. The another important personality we need to discuss here is Tansen. Myan Tansen, born as Ramatanu, was an early protege from Gwalior. He trained under Swami Haridas. He honed Gwalior's Gharana style, which is dedicated to Krishna. Tansen became a court musician of King Ramachandra Singh and later, as all of you know, joined Akbar's court. And that is the relevance of that article for prelims. Now we will take up prelims practice questions. Consider the following statements. Betting and gambling comes under the state list under Schedule 7 of Indian Constitution, Entry 34. In India, both game of skill and game of chance has same tax. Playing online games and sports of skills form part of Article 19(1)(g) and Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. So choose the correct statement. Only one, two, three, all the above. And the answer is all the above. We have discussed this article in detail a little while ago. Another prelims practice question we have is regarding production linked incentive scheme. It is a government initiative to provide financial incentives to domestic companies only to manufacture products in India. PLI scheme has since been extended to 21 sectors, including electronics, automobiles, and pharmaceuticals. The financial incentives are based on the percentage of revenue over up to 5 years. So the options we have, how many of the given statements are correct. So if you see the statement 1 is wrong because it is not only for domestic companies but also for foreign companies. PLI scheme has extended to 14 sectors, which we saw in the article, and the financial incentives are based on the percentage of revenue over and up to 5 years. So the answer is A, only one statement is right, that is the third one. And here is a mains practice question for you. The increasing demand for reservation among the various quarters in Indian society is on rise. Critically analyze, suggest innovative measures to reduce such demand. Try to focus on the directive and keyword and write answer in 150 words for 10 marks. Thank you very much for watching Narayana IAS Daily News Analysis. Subscribe the channel. Do like, share and comment. Thank you, aspirants.